In the silence that followed, they pressed the button. The universe itself seemed to hold its breath. The alien fleet vanished without a trace. But deep within the void, something stirred. The world had settled into its daily rhythm, unaware of the storm brewing at the fringes of the solar system. People were busy with mundane activities, work, play, sleep, when the first signs appeared. High-powered telescopes and satellites detected something massive entering the system from deep space. Dr. Sarah Malik, an astrophysicist at the United Nations Space Observatory, had been monitoring strange gravitational disturbances near the Oort cloud for weeks. Her team noticed unusual movements in space, as if some enormous entity was approaching. On the morning of May 3rd, the answer came. An alien fleet of gigantic proportions had entered the solar system. The world's governments received the data within hours, triggering a global emergency. Images streamed into mission control centers across the globe, showing the alien armada. The ships were nothing like science fiction had imagined. They resembled ancient, blackened leviathans, covered in a shell-like material that absorbed light, giving them a terrifyingly sleek appearance. Panic spread across the planet. Global powers scrambled to understand the incoming threat. Scientists estimated that the fleet, now parked just beyond Neptune, was capable of devastating the Earth many times over. 3 days later, as the ships maneuvered into a formation around Neptune, a message was received. It echoed through every electronic device, broadcast tower, and speaker on Earth. We are the Zelkarn. Your world is a resource we claim. You have one cycle to surrender, or we will take what is ours by force. The message came without explanation, without a path to negotiation. The ultimatum threw the world into chaos. In bunkers and war rooms, leaders debated and scientists scrambled to make sense of the situation. What could they possibly want? Demanded General Bennett, his voice ringing through the dimly lit war room. Resources, suggested Dr. Malik. If they've come all this way, they might be after Earth's water, minerals, maybe even biological material. But that was all speculation. The Zelkarn offered no clues, only a looming threat of annihilation. And so, the world's leaders faced a horrifying reality. Fight an enemy they didn't understand, or submit to unknown demands. It was then that an unlikely solution emerged. Amid the chaos, whispers began to circulate about a secretive project hidden deep within the archives of various space agencies. A classified technology so controversial that it had been shelved, considered too dangerous for human use. It was called Project BLACKOUT. Hidden in a vast underground complex buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Project BLACKOUT was humanity's last resort. It wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It wasn't a bomb, a missile, or a laser. Instead, it was an experiment rooted in the deepest mysteries of quantum mechanics. BLACKOUT relied on the observer effect, a principle suggesting that the mere observation of a quantum system can change its state. The project's architects had taken this theory to an extreme, constructing a device capable of collapsing the quantum state of an entire region of space. Theoretically, it could force an object, or in this case, a fleet, into a different state of reality altogether. "Are you insane?" demanded one of the generals, slamming his fist on the table. "You're talking about rewriting reality itself. What happens if we press that button and everything we know changes?" Dr. Malik, the lead scientist on BLACKOUT, faced the room of military leaders and government officials. She had seen the simulations, understood the risks. "It's a 50-50 chance," she replied. "The fleet could vanish. Or, well, we might collapse part of our reality into something else, something unknown. But we have no other choice." Silence gripped the room. The leaders of the world faced an impossible decision. To press the button was to gamble with the existence of humanity. To do nothing was to surrender to certain doom. After hours of heated debate, the decision was made. The world would gamble on BLACKOUT. With the order given, preparations for Project BLACKOUT went into overdrive. The facility beneath the Rocky Mountains buzzed with frantic activity. Scientists double-checked equations, engineers calibrated machinery, and military personnel prepared for the worst. In the center of the command room stood a simple device, a button encased in transparent glass. It didn't look like much. In fact, Its simplicity was haunting. There were no wires, no visible mechanisms. Just a small black box with a single red button, surrounded by a latticework of complex machinery humming with latent power. Dr. Malik and her team ran through the final checks. They had little margin for error. Everything had to be perfect. The node, a supercomputer connected to quantum tunnels beneath the facility, calculated probabilities in real time. On screens around the room, data flowed, detailing the state of space around Neptune, where the Zelkarn fleet lingered ominously. "We're ready," Dr. Malik announced, her voice echoing in the silent chamber. She turned to face the coalition representatives, who had been watching the preparations with grim expressions. "Remember," she added, "once we press that button, there's no turning back. We either erase them, or we alter reality in ways we can't predict." The world held its breath. The countdown began, displayed on every screen across the planet. People in cities, towns, and villages gathered around televisions, phones, and radios, waiting for the unknown. 10, 9. The tension in the command center was palpable. Dr. Malik placed her hand on the button, her eyes fixed on the screen displaying the alien fleet. 5, 4, 3. A collective heartbeat surged through the world. 2, 1. She pressed the button. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then a deep, guttural hum resonated through the facility, vibrating the very air around them. On the screens, the space around Neptune began to distort, warping and bending like an image seen through a shattered glass pane. The Zelkarn ships flickered, their sleek, ominous forms twisted, breaking apart as if being pulled into a different dimension. Energy readings spiked, colors flashed across the screens, and for an instant, reality itself seemed to shiver. And then it was over. The screens cleared, showing nothing but the dark expanse of space. The room erupted into chaos. Scientists and military officers shouted over one another, trying to make sense of what had just happened. "Report!" Dr. Malik shouted above the din. "What's our status?" "Fleet." "The fleet is gone," a technician stammered, staring at his monitor. "It worked. They're just gone." A wave of relief washed over the room, followed by cheers and applause. The data confirmed it. The entire Zelkarn fleet had vanished, leaving no trace behind. But Dr. Malik remained silent, her gaze fixed on the residual data feeds. Something wasn't right. The space where the fleet had been was behaving oddly, as if it had been fundamentally altered. Gravitational anomalies flickered across the monitors, and quantum readings fluctuated wildly. "What did we just do?" she muttered, her voice drowned out by the celebrations around her. The world celebrated the apparent victory. News outlets across the globe hailed the Great Vanishing, crediting the Project BLACKOUT team with saving humanity from the brink of destruction. Dr. Malik became an overnight hero, her face plastered across screens and newspapers. But in the days that followed, strange phenomena began to occur. Observatories around the world picked up residual distortions near Neptune. Scientists reported anomalies in quantum measurements, suggesting that the space around where the fleet had been was now different. In the command center, Dr. Malik and her team worked tirelessly to understand the anomalies. On the 8th day after the button was pressed, a signal was detected. Faint at first, like a whisper in the void, but unmistakable. "What is that?" asked an engineer, squinting at the oscillating waveforms on his screen. "It's an echo," Dr. Malik replied, her heart pounding. "A remnant of their quantum state." The room fell silent. The signal continued to grow stronger, taking on a more structured pattern. It was more than just an echo. It was a transmission, a message. Dr. Malik and her team analyzed the data for hours, attempting to decode the alien signal. As the pattern unraveled, it became clear. The Zelkarn were not gone. They had been shifted to a different state of existence, but they were adapting. "They're learning," Dr. Malik realized with a chill. "They're trying to reassert themselves into our reality." The encoded message finally revealed itself. A single phrase repeated over and over. "We have learned. We will return." Panic rippled through the command center. The Zelkarn had not been destroyed. They had been transformed, thrust into a different reality. But now they were clawing their way back. The signal continued to grow, saturating the sensors around Neptune. Weeks passed, and the transmission evolved into a pulsating wave of energy, its frequency shifting as if probing the fabric of reality. Scientists worldwide monitored the phenomenon, realizing that the Zelkarn were exploiting the very fabric of quantum mechanics to return. "We have to do something," General Bennett urged during a global emergency meeting. "If they come back, we won't get another chance." Dr. Malik nodded, though she felt a gnawing fear in the pit of her stomach. "We bought time, but they're adapting faster than we can comprehend. They're using the state we forced them into as a foothold to breach back into our reality." "So, what's the plan?" another scientist asked. Dr. Malik hesitated. "We need to modify BLACKOUT. We pressed the button to shift them once. If we can understand the nature of their new state, we might be able to collapse it entirely." The room buzzed with apprehension. Could BLACKOUT be modified to not just displace the Zelkarn, but to eradicate them entirely? The thought terrified everyone, but they had no other option. As the weeks turned into months, the signal from Neptune grew more complex. It began to influence the space around it, bending light and gravity. Telescopes captured images of swirling distortions, as if reality itself was being folded by some unseen force. Dr. Malik and her team worked day and night, deciphering the alien signal and attempting to reconfigure BLACKOUT. The project had moved into uncharted territory, delving into quantum mechanics and theoretical physics that even the most advanced supercomputers struggled to model. "We're running out of time," a colleague warned as they examined the latest data. "The Zelkarn are close. Their presence is starting to manifest physically." Indeed, strange occurrences began to spread. People across the world reported fleeting glimpses of shadowy forms, distortions in reflections, and whispers in the silence. It was as if the Zelkarn were testing the boundaries, stretching their reach into Earth's reality. "We have to act now," Dr. Malik declared, her eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. "We're launching BLACKOUT's final protocol." In the command center, the team gathered once more around the button. This time, the air was filled not with hope, but with grim determination. The modified BLACKOUT protocol was designed not to shift the Zelkarn, but to collapse their quantum state entirely, erasing their foothold in reality. Dr. Malik placed her hand on the button, her fingers trembling. Around the room, monitors displayed the chaotic energy waves emanating from Neptune. "This is our last chance," she said. "If we fail, they will return. Stronger, smarter, and with a full understanding of how to manipulate our reality." No one spoke. The countdown began once more. 10, 9. Dr. Malik closed her eyes, summoning every ounce of courage. 5, 4, 3. A sense of foreboding gripped the room. 2, 1. She pressed the button. The facility shuddered as BLACKOUT activated, sending a wave of quantum energy rippling through the solar system. On the screens, space twisted violently around Neptune. The signal from the Zelkarn spiked, screaming through the instruments before collapsing into a void of silence. The room went still. The screens showed nothing but the darkness of space. The signal was gone. "Did it work?" someone whispered. Dr. Malik stared at the data stream. Slowly, a faint smile crept onto her face. "Yes," she said softly. "They're gone." The world slowly emerged from its tense silence, realizing that they had survived once again. Celebrations were muted this time, tinged with the memory of the horrors faced and the knowledge that survival had come at an incomprehensible cost. Dr. Malik stood in the command center, gazing at the now dormant BLACKOUT button. They had erased the Zelkarn, collapsed their existence. But questions haunted her thoughts. What had they truly done? Had they defeated the Zelkarn, or merely set into motion something even more profound and unknown? In the quiet of the underground facility, the shadows seemed to whisper, as if reality itself was still adjusting to the aftermath of the button's press. Somewhere in the depths of the universe, there might be consequences yet unfathomed. As Dr. Malik walked away, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was not the end. Humanity had pressed a button and survived the alien fleet, but in doing so, They had tampered with forces far beyond their understanding. The universe had blinked. The Zelkarn had vanished. But at what cost? The END, or perhaps the beginning of something even darker.